My name is Nolan Sitz, and I'm an architect with Solomon Cordwell Buenz. We're excited to present the refinements we made to 16310 80th Avenue for our second DRB meeting. Over the next few minutes, we want to refresh your memory on our project, take you through a summary of your comments from DRB1, and walk you through our responses. The project is located at 80th and Larry Way. We're in the Town Square District, just a couple blocks away from the downtown park, light rail station, and adjacent to Old Town Redmond. Looking at the building massing, we started with a U-shaped courtyard that faces south, 272 units above and 272 parking spaces below. To be good neighbors and build better units, we pushed the wings of the building in to create 3 courtyards instead of 1. This distributed the open space better and gives more natural light to all 3 developments. The result is a pie-shaped plan. We also added a pedestrian system running through the center of the site. Lastly, to create visual interest along 80th, we took the east wing and rotated it 6 degrees to capture great views of Mount Rainier and break up the building geometry along the street. This is the street perspective of our building looking west along 80th. The street has a great scale to it, but is filled with buildings that are 90 degrees. So rotating the eastern wing off of its axis became one of the strong concepts behind this project. We call it the wooden jewel box as it perches above the ground floor. At DRB1, the board was very supportive. In general, they liked the planning of the building, use of materials, and modern wooden box. They also thought the Woonerf, it was nice. It slowed down traffic and created a covered walkway for pedestrians. The board asked we look at refining the south and north elevations. On the south, they specifically asked we look at defining the top of the building better. This is a before and after picture. We're proposing to change the coloration and scale of materials at the top 2 levels so that it looks and feels more like a traditional masonry building. We thought this was a nice way to connect it to some of the surrounding contextual buildings, especially in Old Town Redmond. We're also proposing to express a much stronger parapet, which we think is in alignment with a traditional building. And this is a close-up of the top where you can see the scale of materials changing. It's slightly darker and overall will have a nice texture to express the top. The board also asked we look at expressing the 3rd floor amenity space differently on the wooden box. We were intrigued by this idea and think it looks better with a much classier, larger opening. Lastly, on this elevation, they wanted us to study the articulation of the ground floor units, and what we had drawn previously felt too much like retail storefront. Our response is on the right. We're proposing smaller, more intimate openings, which helps to break down the scale of the ground floor. This is a close-up of the ground floor units along 80th. Before and after. We also added in small canopies over the entrances and added planters to align with the ground floor units of the adjacent development. We think this will create a cohesive street level experience. Moving to the north elevation, the board liked the idea of extending the wooden box and was happy to see that we broke down the scale of the mass, but wanted to see more architectural interest. We added some wooden verticals to the 2 white masses on the right and punctuated it with dark reveals. We also reduced the visual scale of the 2nd floor. We think these moves are helpful in creating more visual interest. The last comment we heard was a question about how we're handling the interior lot lines. The fire department requires a 5-foot wide opening between the buildings, but the board felt it was unsafe for pedestrians to leave it open. We think a gate is a great solution to keep unwanted people out and also provide the fire department access. The western lot line has a 10-foot setback where grasses and shrubs will grow, while the eastern lot line is 5 feet. In the next few slides, we'll show the building from different vantages to give you a sense and feel of how pedestrians would experience it. This perspective is from 80th, looking northeast, masonry on the left, modern wood box juxtaposed on the right. And this is it from the other side, blown up in scale. Moving into the center of the development, this is a good view of the Woonerf lobby on the right and covered open space on the left. We're proposing the front and side walls of the Woonerf to look like board form concrete with linear lights around it to make it feel safe at all times of day. At the ground floor, we're showing a colored concrete floor which will visually tie the open space, Woonerf, and residential lobby together. This is the perspective along 81st. You can see the wooden box on the far left and vertical wooden bays to the right, which gives the elevation much more visual interest. And this is it from the other direction. We feel good about the design changes and how it modulates above. The next 4 slides are more flat on elevations with material callouts. The building is primarily made up of two materials, a variegated stone-looking fiber cement on the left and wooden materials on the right. We have gray infill color on both to make the openings feel larger and reinforce our design moves. The ground floor is a mixture of variegated stone-looking fiber cement, glass, and metal. Because we have tall buildings to the east and west of our sites, we spent most of our energy and time on the north and south. When we did push the wings in, we thought it was important to have those materials from the south turn the corner, as those courtyard elevations will be seen from 80th. This is the north elevation, and finally, the west again. You can see that when we pushed the wings in, we thought it was important to have those materials turn about 15-20 feet so that you could see them from 80th. At the ground floor, we have two different options for open space. The base is a daycare. We have about over 10,000 square feet of space outlined in green. Pedestrian access is off of 80th. Playground is adjacent to 81st, with convenience parking on all three sides. We're also showing an optional retail space along 80th to help activate the street. The Planning and Parks Department is a little concerned the daycare might be vacant, so they asked us to look at the space as a community room as well. In this option, we think the retail along 80th will go a long ways in activating the space. This is our proposed site plan. We would like to keep the trees along 80th, add a planting bed near the lobby, and create a more defined windrow. We'll also have some planting areas on the back along 81st and along the western lot line. As for the palette, we're looking at an assortment of colorful flowers and shrubs, both at the street level and amenity deck. Moving up in the stack, this is the typical plan. And then finally, the amenity plan. The more public deck is in the center with a couple of ornamental trees, and the more private space is on the right. Overall, we're very excited about the design refinement we made to this project. It's contextual, dynamic, and gives back to the community. Thank you for your time, and we look forward to hearing your feedback.